ध्यानमूलं गुरोः मूर्तिः पूजामूलं गुरोः कृपापदं मन्त्रमूलं गुरोर्वाक्यं मोक्षमूलं गुरोः कृपा। ॐ कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। सद्गुरु भगवान की जय। सच्चिदानंद भगवान की जय। कृष्ण भगवान की जय। गीता माता की जय। हरि ओम। We are discussing Bhagavat Gita, chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga, and Lord Krishna is explaining to Arjuna in the midst of battlefield. Yesterday we have seen how Lord Krishna gives the common attitude of people when one performs his duty, he goes to heaven. And if you perform your duty, that is to fight out the battle, in both the case, the result will be favorable for you. If you die in the battle, you are going to heaven, which is common aim of a worldly person. By doing some meritorious deeds, one goes to heaven and enjoys pleasure there for pretty long time. And that is you are going to achieve if you die. And if you win over the battle, then you are going to enjoy the earth, you are going to gain the throne. So in both the cases you are gaining, you are not losing. So you must do your duty. From every angle, Lord Krishna explains to Arjuna and encourages him to fight out the battle at the time. So he said, Yamimam pushpitam vacha pravadanti vipaschitaha vedavadarataha partha nanyadastiti vadinaha. He explained about two parts of Vedas. One is Karma Kanda and another is Jnana Kanda, a path of action with motive, with a selfish motive to gain some results, good results, and enjoy in the heaven. That is also prescribed by Vedas. And the other part is doing actions without expectation of the fruits of the actions, and thereby one gets one-pointed mind and can meditate and can enter into samadhi. And when he attains that one-pointedness, then he he obtains the highest goal of life, that is realization of the self, and that without that one cannot get rid of the cycle of birth and death. Both the sides of the Vedas he explained to Arjuna, and now he is telling the 43rd sloka. Kamatmanah swargapara janma karma phalapradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogeishwarya gati prati. He says, full of desires, having heaven as their goal, these people without understanding, they do the sacrifices, which results in an end. They enjoy the heavenly pleasures, and when the fruit of their meritorious deeds are exhausted, then they have to give up the heavenly pleasures and they have to come down to earthly plane again to do same thing. So again and again they fall into the cycle of birth and death. Okay. The people who are attached towards the karma kind part of Vedas believe in karma and karma phala, the result of the actions. They perform sacrifices and other meritorious deeds with the desire to enjoy in heaven. They don't understand that heavenly pleasure has an end. They cannot get out of the birth and death cycle of the world. They cannot attain eternal bliss, that is mukti. Eternal bliss means mukti, liberation from the bondage of birth and death cycle. Again and again you have to go in the cycle. So you cannot get rid of the cycle as long as you enjoy your fruits of actions. Somehow or other, if you want to get out of this cycle of birth and death, you have to give up the result of your actions. That means also to do everything without doership attitude, not to do anything for selfish attainment. So if there is no selfish motive, then how can you get moksha? The question comes. That means if you don't have any desires, the desirelessness is called moksha. Having desires, you will have attachment to actions and its results. So again and again you will be bound by the laws of nature. You cannot get out of it. So not being able to get out of the natural laws, that is called bondage, and that is worldly, due to worldly attachment. So mukti means to get out of it, to get released from this bondage. So unless and until you give up this idea of enjoyment, you cannot have that state of bliss, eternal bliss, which is known as mukti from all these. Those who believe in the Jnana Kand, the path of wisdom, know the heavenly pleasures ends when the fruits of your meritorious deeds are exhausted. It ends, it has an end. But eternal bliss is eternal, it has got no end. This is understood by people who tread the path of wisdom. So what do they do? They follow the path of knowledge and they don't get into the karma kanda of Vedas, which has got end, which forces you to get into the cycle of birth and death. This is how Lord Krishna discourages Arjuna to do something with motive, with selfish desires to achieve something. Of course, previously he was telling from the worldly point of angle of vision. Worldly angle of vision, one if does his duty well, he will go to heaven. That is also there. You can get it. If at all you wish for the karma phala. And if you don't get it, other way you are going to gain the throne. So both way, from worldly parlance, both way you are gainer. From that angle, Lord Krishna explained to Arjuna. Now he is discouraging this idea of going to heaven. This is not a good idea, getting the fruits of actions and going again and again, enjoying pleasure in heaven and coming down to the birth and death cycle again and again. This is endless trouble. So in this way, Lord Krishna discourages Arjuna. Kamatmanah swargapara janma karma phala pradam. Whatever you do, it gives the result in janma, birth and death by the fruits of your actions. And you are full of desires, so desires cannot lead you to the self-realization or eternal bliss. Again he is explaining, Bhogeshwarya prasaktanam. When your mind is engaged in such karma kandas, you are ever restless. So you need a determined mind, one-pointed mind to go in the path of wisdom. One should have determination, one-pointed mind, and then he can withdraw his mind from the sense objects and concentrate on one object, and then he can meditate and go enter into samadhi. That is end of all the desires, where the mind stops working. Mind works when it is supported with these sense objects. Then only it works. If it has got no support, it cannot play havoc. It is steadied and it is not restless. This is the real path. Bhogeshwarya prasaktanam taya parita chetasam vyavasayatmaka buddhi samadho na vidhiyate. Those who are attached to pleasure and power, whose minds are drawn away by such teachings of karma kanda, they are persuaded to have great pleasures in heaven. Their mind is drawn towards the enjoyment, and they will always plan and project for new actions, something good, meritorious deeds, to perform some sacrifices, so that they earn some merits, and as a result they will go to the heaven and enjoy. So their mind will be always restless. And from other angle, when the desires are there, you are always slave of your desires. You go without rest to fulfill your desires, to have some pleasure. When your desires are fulfilled, then only you enjoy it, for a moment only. These people, they don't understand this path is always changeful, and it is just whatever enjoyment you get, it is momentary only. Whereas the other people who lead the path of wisdom, they are able to withdraw their mind from the desires because they don't have desires. So their mind is easily withdrawn from the sense objects, and they have no trouble, and they can enter into meditation and samadhi, and that is the way to blessedness. That means where there is no desire, there is no attachment, there is no enjoyment of your fruits of action, because you are not the doer. So you will not be the enjoyer. In that case, you are neutral. So that neutral zone is known as the absolute truth, which is permanent, eternal bliss. So this is what Lord Krishna explains to Arjuna. He says, this mind of these people who are attracted by the enjoyments, they go on planning and projecting for future, what to do, what not to do. They are ever restless, and thus their mind is not under control, ever restless, and they cannot meditate. Those who cling to pleasure and power cannot have steadiness of mind. They cannot concentrate or meditate. They are ever busy in planning and projects, for the acquisition of wealth and power. Whatever they get, they go on acquiring so that they can enjoy it. Their mind are ever restless, they have no poised understanding. So in this way, he discourages Arjuna to go for the result of his actions. Just whatever comes by the way, do it as your duty. Yuddhaya yujasya. He told me before it, he told, just for battle's sake you go on fighting without expecting anything. That is the real duty. Again he says about Vedas, because Vedas are brought to discussion. How are the Vedas? Vedas have two parts. One is Karma Kanda, which gives you directions to do good deeds and enjoy the result of it. You will go on enjoying and suffering, enjoying and suffering, and go on endlessly in the cycle of old birth and death. Go on. One part. And the other part teaches you to get out of this cycle. That is path of wisdom. Now again he explains the Vedas. Traigunya Visaya Veda. Ved talks about the creation, how the creation is visible to us, how we are in the relative life, how the nature works, everything. What are the natural laws? Everything is there in the Vedas. So the Vedas deal with qualities. They explain the nature is Trigunatmika. Nature we always discuss in our Yoga Vasishtha class. The world means imbalanced state. And imbalanced state, in where it is imbalanced. Where there is balanced state, then only it can be imbalanced. So this balanced state is known as the balances of three qualities, sattva, rajas and tamas. I mean, there is a little misbalanced state on the balanced state. That is called nature. And we discuss every now and then about the sound, how the sound was fast vibration, fast imbalanced state, and how the three qualities, sattva, rajas and tamas, when they are in balanced state, the same supreme power, Maya, or the creative power, it is balanced, that is known as the absolute truth. When it is imbalanced, once imbalanced, it will go on, and that is the vibratory process, imbalanced process, and that is known as imbalanced state of three qualities, sattva, rajas, tamas. Sattva means purity, light, and light means, purity means oneness only. That is balanced state. It is just getting imbalanced. Means the first starting point of imbalanced state. Of course, it is a quality. It is an imbalanced state, but it is the starting point. So it is full of light, understanding, and purity, oneness. So all these belong to sattva quality. Rajas is more wavery, more restlessness, so more activities that comes under Rajas. And Tamas is just dullness, inertia. All these belong to Tamas. So in this way, all these three qualities, when they are in a balanced state, it is known as the truth. And when it is imbalanced, that is called nature. And that is how creation starts. So in this way he says, Traigunya Visaya Veda. Veda explains about the nature, the law of nature, how the three qualities get imbalanced and nature plays the role. Maya we say, supreme energy we say, supreme power, the creative force, the power of knowledge, power of creating, and power of destroying also. All the powers. Power means imbalanced state, restlessness. Traigunya Visaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. Oh Arjuna, you should not plunge into imbalanced state of nature, that is, you should not come under the clutches of three qualities. So you will be under the control of nature, supreme power, that never allows you to sit in rest. You will be always restless, and that leads you to fulfill your desires, having desires, fulfilling your desires, and enjoying the fruits of your actions, all these. Karma kanda also comes under this, under three qualities. Traigunya Visaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjana. O Arjun, go beyond all these qualities, or else you cannot meditate, you cannot enter into samadhi. He explained before it. That is what is needed. You have to have one-pointed determination, and then you can stop your mind, and then you can enter to the kingdom of bliss, not heaven. Nirdvando nitya sattvastho niryogaksham atmavan. Dvanda. Dvanda means dualism. The whole world plays with dualistic ideas. That is called relativity, law of relativity. When two are there is comparison, there is relationship, there is dependency, there is everything. When one is there, all these are not found there. When two are there, all this law of relativity, which is otherwise known as the law of energy, starts playing its role. So, Dvanda means dualism. Nirdvando bhava, be not in the dualistic laws, relative laws. Go beyond it. So, before it, he has explained us to bear pain and pleasure. The whole world is constituted by the pairs of opposites. Wherever we see, whatever we see, everywhere there is the pairs of opposites. If good is there, the other side is bad. If height is there, there is depth. If light is there, there is darkness. So everywhere there is the opposition. Without opposition, the relative world is not seen at all. So the whole world is constituted by pairs of opposites, and if you bear all these pain and pleasure, joy and defeat, your joy and your pain, your win and defeat, all these if you bear, you don't give value to it, then you go beyond it, then you can attain that oneness that is possible in samadhi and by meditation, and then you can attain that eternal bliss. That is the path of wisdom. So don't care for these pairs of opposites, bear it, don't give value to it, go beyond it. Nirdvando bhava. And nitya sattvastho, be established in sattva, because you have a life here. So if you can purify your mind, and you can reduce your desires and end your desires in the end, and you can have establishment on the purity that is sattva, and you can attain that oneness, and that is steady mind. So be established in the quality of sattva. Sattva is purity and light and harmony. That is to see. Harmonious state is known as sattva. It is a state, of course, but it is in balanced state. It is a state of existence. It is under the law of nature, because one of the three qualities, but it is so subtle, so pure. It is called harmonious. It will not disturb you much. So in this way, when you attain this sattvic state, when you get little steadiness of mind, your mind is not attracted by worldly pleasures, heavenly pleasures, and you have no restlessness to plan and project some future actions. Then you can withdraw your mind easily, and you can be established in sattva, and then you can enter into samadhi. This is what is explained by Lord Krishna, and what he says more. Nitya sattvasto niryoga kshema atmavan. Then only you can have the realization of the self. Niryoga kshema. Yoga and kshema. Yoga means attaining, acquiring something which you need. And kshema means protection of your accumulations, whatever you have accumulated. already for your needs. Let it be more or less, whatever it is yours. Whatever belongs to you, you must protect it. That is the common life. Whatever belongs to us, we look after it, we protect it. That is called Kshema. Yoga, whatever we need more, we have to accumulate it. So acquisition, to acquire things, that is of course not possible without desires. And protection of yourself, that is also you have to desire and plan for it. So he advises Arjuna to get rid of this yoga and kshema. Niryoga kshema atmavan. Yoga kshema, you have to forget it. You have nothing, nor you have any idea of protecting it. So what will happen to you? How can you lead your life? If you offer it to the Absolute by the nature, through the nature, how you can offer it to the Lord through the nature? If you have the idea, the nature or the supreme power is nothing but Trigunatmika, it is made by three qualities. When the three qualities get disbalanced, that is called nature. So by that imbalanced state only, all the relative world stands. All the natural laws, they stand upon this imbalanced state of three qualities. That is called nature. So, first of all, you have attained that absolute sattvic state, that constancy, steadiness. And now you don't care for your results of your actions. And then also you don't care for protection of your accumulate wealth, whatever you have, whatever belongs to you, because you know it is protected, it is obtained by the nature and protected by the nature. So when you have this conviction, this faith that everything is done by the nature only, you are nowhere concerned, then you have no plan and projects to protect it or acquire something more. All these ideas are forgotten completely. Understood the technical point. First of all, give up I or doership and enjoyership, and be established in sattva, be pure, have less of desires, as less as possible, and then don't acquire wealth, and you have no worries now to protect whatever you have acquired, and no desire to acquire more. So in this way, from all sides you are at rest. You have nothing to do now. So easily you can enter into meditation and samadhi and enter into that zone of silence where no restlessness, ever steadiness, That's why he is trying to ask Arjuna to step into the last step, the absolute sattvic state, pure state. Then when you have stepped on the last step of your ladder, then the terrace is next step. This is how slowly Lord Krishna explains to Arjuna to give up all these wrong notions, wrong understandings. Generally people of world, they don't care for all these. They don't have time to understand all these. And they are ever engaged as habitually as their parents and their ancestors have done it. Now they have no time. They don't have that tendency to do something other than what common people do. So Lord Krishna explains to Arjuna to go beyond Vedas. Traigunya Visaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna Nirdvando Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. Then only you can realize this self and attain the highest bliss and rest forever. The Vedas deal with the three attributes of nature. Be thou above these three attributes, O Arjuna. Free yourself from the pairs of opposites and over remain in the quality of sattva, goodness. Freed from the thought of acquisition and preservation and be established in the self, be Atmaman, be established on the self. And this is how you can attain the highest. Now, what is that to Arjuna now? He is telling, I am not going to fight. So, he is explaining him. It is not to fight or not to fight. It is just to accept the present, whatever comes by the way. Do it without any expectation. That is what is needed. It has come to you, so perform it as your duty sake, as your duty. Then we shall see, does it mean we shall not give importance to Vedas? Vedas are the greatest authority of everything, all the knowledge, the worldly knowledge, the heavenly knowledge, the self-knowledge, everything. All the knowledge we can have from Vedas. So shall we not care for the Vedas? We shall see it tomorrow. He says, Vedas deal with the three qualities and don't care to be in the clutches of the qualities, so naturally don't care for the injunctions of the Vedas. Do we mean so? No, this is not the meaning. Vedas have given us everything. Good and bad, everything is there. So, Veda means knowledge. And we have discussed the knowledge is of two types because we are in relative world. Everything has two sides, pairs of opposites. So Vedas also has two sides. It teaches you everything, all the knowledge. Knowledge has got two sides. One is knowledge of the world, which teaches you to lead a happy and prosperous life in the worldly parlance. And slowly, when you are purified by leading a ideal life, then you can step onto the other part, other step. You can go ahead. That is, with a pure mind you can understand and you can enter into the path of wisdom. Vedas deal with everything means just as a student goes to the school, he starts with LKG and then KG and then fast form. In those initial stages, the child learns very simple things. And without learning all those, he cannot go all of a sudden, he can jump into higher classes. So step by step you have to go. That is called the school education system. So Vedas gives us only knowledge. So step by step you have to understand it carefully. It is not denied, but it is to be understood properly. Karma kanda is not condemned, but karma kanda leads you to jnana kanda, the path of wisdom that you should not forget. Don't stop your education in primary classes. You have to go ahead and have full education. Then only you are a real educated person. Education means starts from initial stages and ends in the highest, isn't it? Similarly, our life is, and similarly we have to look at the Vedas. Vedas are not condemned by this, but you have to understand properly. Tomorrow we shall see how much we should care for Vedas and what is the state of Vedas when you have attained the highest. When you have done your doctorate in many subjects, do you again go to initial primary classes of the school again? That is how Vedas are necessary after your realization of the truth. When you realize the truth, there is no need of any Vedas. They are the subject of neophytes. It is not condemned, but it is not needed for you now. That is what Lord Krishna explained to Arjuna. Tomorrow we shall see how to become Nirveda, how to give up Vedas. First you have to practice. First you have to learn the initial whatever courses, and then you can go beyond it. That is what he says. Javanartha udapane sarvataha samplutodake tavan sarvesu vedesu brahmanasya vijanata. Brahman, one who has attained the highest knowledge of Brahman, the Supreme Truth, when he attains that highest state, for him the Vedas are not so much necessary. They are for the neophytes. He gives the example, tomorrow we shall see. Hari Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadguru Bhagavan ki jai. Satchidananda Bhagavan ki jai. Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Gita Mata ki jai. Hari Om.